Have you ever wondered how the world would be different if World War II never happened? A question that sparks curiosity, doesn't it? World War II, a conflict so monumental that it reshaped the globe in ways that still reverberate today. It was a dance of nations, a clash of ideologies, and a test of human resilience. From the rise of the Axis powers to the victory of the Allies, each event played a significant role in crafting our present. Join us as we journey back in time to explore the pivotal events of World War II. In 1939, the world watched in shock as Germany invaded Poland. As dawn broke on September 1st, German forces under the command of Adolf Hitler surged across the Polish border, marking the beginning of World War II. This was no ordinary skirmish. It was a calculated act of aggression, a flagrant violation of Poland's sovereignty, and it sent shockwaves around the world. This invasion was the first test of Germany's newly formed strategy of Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. With a combination of rapid advances, powerful artillery, and air bombardments, the German forces aimed to disorient and destroy their opponents before they could fully mobilize. The Polish army fought valiantly, but they were outmatched and outmaneuvered. By October 6th, the country was under German control. But the invasion of Poland was more than just a military operation. It was a statement. Hitler was making it clear that he was not afraid to use force to achieve his goals, and he was willing to defy the international community to do so. The world could no longer ignore the threat that Nazi Germany posed. Britain and France, Poland's allies, were quick to respond. They had hoped to prevent a war through diplomacy, but Hitler's actions left them with no choice. On September 3rd, just 2 days after the invasion began, they declared war on Germany. Yet this did not immediately lead to large-scale military actions. The period that followed is often referred to as the phony war, where both sides were gearing up for the inevitable large-scale conflict, but actual combat was limited. The invasion of Poland was a pivotal moment in history. It marked the beginning of a new era, an era where the world would be plunged into a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation. It set the stage for the battles that would follow. Battles that would span continents and oceans, that would involve millions of people, and that would reshape the world as we know it. This marked the start of a war that would change the world forever. As the war progressed, the Axis powers expanded their territories. The expansion was rapid, aggressive, and seemingly unstoppable. Let's delve into this pivotal phase of World War II. In the early months of the 1940s, the Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, were on the rise. Their military strategies and tactics were proving to be successful, as they quickly and efficiently invaded and occupied numerous countries across Europe and Asia. France, once a formidable force, fell to Germany in June of 1940. This shocking event sent ripples across the globe. The German forces, utilizing their infamous Blitzkrieg tactics, overpowered the French troops and swiftly took control. This marked a significant turning point in the war, signaling the strength and determination of the Axis powers. Across the Channel, Britain braced itself. The Battle of Britain was a fierce air conflict that raged from July to October in the same year. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the Royal Air Force valiantly defended their skies against the German Luftwaffe. Although the battle ended in a strategic victory for Britain, it demonstrated the vast reach and relentless pursuit of the Axis powers. Simultaneously, in the East, the Axis powers were making their move. In June of 1941, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. This was the largest military operation in history, involving more than 3 million Axis soldiers. The initial onslaught was devastating, leading to significant Soviet losses. Yet, the harsh winter and fierce resistance eventually slowed the Axis advance. These key events painted a picture of a world dominated by the Axis powers. Their swift and decisive actions led to the occupation of vast territories across Europe and Asia. The world watched in trepidation, wondering if the Axis powers could be stopped. The Axis powers seemed unstoppable, but the tide was about to turn. As we'll see in our next segment, the Allies were preparing to fight back, setting the stage for some of the most pivotal battles of World War II. 1942 marked a turning point in the war. In this pivotal year, a series of significant battles and strategic moves began to shift the momentum in favor of the Allies. Let's delve into these key events that became the fulcrum upon which the scales of victory began to tilt. Firstly, the Battle of Stalingrad. This brutal confrontation was a battle for survival, fought in the frigid Russian winter. The city of Stalingrad became a symbol of stubborn resistance, where the Soviet Red Army held their ground against the relentless onslaught of the German forces. The tide turned when the Soviets launched Operation Uranus, encircling and eventually capturing an entire German army. This marked the first major defeat of Hitler's forces and a significant turning point in the Eastern Front. Across the world in the vast Pacific Ocean, another crucial battle was underway, the Battle of Midway. The United States, despite suffering heavy losses at Pearl Harbor, managed to regroup and counterattack. They successfully intercepted and deciphered Japanese naval codes, setting a trap that led to a decisive victory. The Japanese Navy never fully recovered from the loss of 4 of their aircraft carriers, marking a turning point in the Pacific War. Lastly, we turn to the Mediterranean, where the invasion of Italy took place. The Allies, seeking to exploit the cracks in the Axis powers, launched an amphibious assault on Sicily, followed by a successful invasion of the Italian mainland. This campaign knocked Italy out of the war, further weakening the Axis front and opening a new front for the Allies. These victories, fought hard on land, sea and air, were not just military triumphs. They were symbolic victories that boosted morale and gave the Allies the momentum they needed to push back against the Axis forces. These victories marked the beginning of the end for the Axis powers. The war was far from over, but these battles signaled a shift in the tide, and the Allies were ready to ride the wave all the way to victory. By 1945, the Allies were closing in. The final stages of the war were marked by a relentless pursuit of victory. The once formidable Axis powers were on the back foot, their control on the world stage waning. In the West, the Allied forces had successfully landed in Normandy on the now iconic D-Day, and from that foothold, they began their march into the heart of Germany. This was a time of intense and brutal battles, but the Allies, fueled by their determination and the desire for freedom, pressed on. Simultaneously from the east, the Soviet Union was making significant headway. The Red Army, hardened by the trials of Stalingrad and Kursk, was now an unstoppable force. They pushed through Eastern Europe, liberating countries from the iron grip of the Nazis, and by April, they had reached the capital of the Third Reich, Berlin. The fall of Berlin was a decisive moment in the war. The city, once the epicenter of Nazi power, was now in ruins and under the control of the Allies. Hitler's reign had effectively ended, and the fall of the city signaled the impending defeat of the Axis powers. Meanwhile in the Pacific, the war was reaching its own climax. In an effort to expedite the end of the war and prevent further casualties, the United States made the controversial decision to drop atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The devastation was unimaginable and the impact was immediate. Japan, recognizing the futility of further resistance, surrendered, effectively ending the war in the Pacific. The final stages of the war were marked by a mixture of triumph and tragedy. The Allies had achieved their goal of defeating the Axis powers, but the cost was high. Cities lay in ruins, millions of lives were lost, and the world would never be the same again. World War II ended with the unconditional surrender of the Axis powers. The Allies had emerged victorious, but the shadow of the war would linger for decades to come. The world was forever changed by World War II. This monumental conflict left an indelible mark on the fabric of society and shaped the course of the 20th century. After the dust settled, the world was a vastly different place. Countries were rebuilt from the ground up, borders were redrawn, and new superpowers emerged. From the ashes, the United Nations was born, with a singular mission to maintain peace and prevent another global catastrophe. The aftermath saw the world divided into 2 spheres of influence, the United States and the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cold War. The war also accelerated technological advancements, from the development of the atomic bomb to the advent of jet engines and computers. In summary, World War II was a time of intense struggle and profound change. It began with the brutal invasion of Poland, saw the rise and fall of the Axis powers, and culminated in the hard-won victory of the Allies. The war was a stark testament to the indomitable human spirit, the grim realities of war, and the enduring hope for peace. It changed the world, not just geographically, but also socially, politically, and technologically. World War II was a war that reshaped the world. It serves as a powerful reminder of the cost of war and the importance of peace.